Hey guys, Adam from ZFG Racing here. Got a quick video for you today. I realized that I never really shared the baseline dyno numbers that I did up here on the Explorer behind me. So I'm going to go ahead and get those out there. Up here I only have access to a two-wheel drive dyno. Thankfully a shop opened up that's just down the road from my house that has a two-wheel drive dyno, so I'm happy for that. It does make dynoing the Explorer a bit of a challenge. I did know this, and I don't really do it often because I'm not 100% sure that it's the best way to go about it. But you can indeed take your Explorer, put it up on a two-wheel drive dyno, and unplug the transfer case and still get the dyno done. Now, the reason I'm not 100% sure that I want everybody to do that is because if you jack the car up and unplug the transfer case, there does still seem to be some drag on the all-wheel drive system. It is a clutch type transfer case, and if you don't have the front axle disconnect actuator, you can't fully disconnect the front axles, so there is drag there, so it is potentially glazing the clutches or potentially causing damage. It doesn't seem like it really does anything to it, at least if you're careful and you make sure that it's zeroed out when you unplug it and you don't unplug it in a, you know, kind of an engaged position. But at the end of the day, I chose to do that because it's either that or I drive 8 hours to Nostrum. If you guys remember, or if you pay attention to our social media, you saw this car on Nostrum's dyno. That was back when we installed the fuel system. It made like 510 horsepower, tune only, and then made 535 on the Nostrum fuel system and E85 for the fuel. Great numbers. That was bone stock. I actually brought the car back up here shortly. Well, I brought it back up here the same day, but shortly after that I hit a deer with it, so I had to rebuild the front end, which that was no fun. But anyway, so I did a couple mods to it while I was rebuilding the front end. I did an intercooler, did the Houston Speed Freaks intake, and then it's got the thermal R&D exhaust on it. At the time of the dyno, that was all that was really done to the car, including the fuel system still. So the new numbers that we got, I'll show you here in a minute, but that was 570 plus horsepower. So, you know, about the gains we expect to see with the intake and the intercooler working together, and the exhaust kind of doesn't really do much at this point in time. But the big thing was the intake. And you guys know my feelings on intakes. There's really only two that are the best right now, and that's the Houston Speed Freaks and the FenFab. The S&B is a close third as long as you take the glass out of it. But basically everything else with a closed intake box, if you're trying to do anything beyond stock turbos and even stock turbos, it's kind of restrictive. And I know there's some tuners out there that say, oh, the intake doesn't matter, the intake doesn't matter. It does. It makes a big difference. You want to have the least possible restriction in front of the turbo that you can, and that's definitely what the Houston Speed Freaks one does. I actually ran it with an inlet pressure sensor, and the factory airbox came in around about 2.5 psi of pressure drop between atmospheric and directly in front of the turbo, and the Houston Speed Freaks has basically none. You could maybe call it 0.1 psi, but it kind of just bounces around there. So that's, you know, that's consistent with the other intakes that we've tested. The FenFab is very good. The only thing with the FenFab is I was measuring on the driver's side, and really the hard pull for that one is going to be the passenger side. And I've never really tried to put a sensor down on the passenger side inside that plastic inlet elbow that goes in there, but I would imagine that, you know, a lot of the restriction on that intake is happening on the passenger side. And then the other intakes like the S&B, those, you know, with the lid on, it's around a psi, so you still have some pretty significant pressure loss there across those filters and across that intake system. But anyway, so yeah, so we picked up, you know, around 40 horsepower between the intake and being on the 2-wheel drive dyno. Now I don't really think, you know, I kind of wish I would have put it on tune only so I could see the true difference. Unfortunately, the deer kind of changed the intercooler for me, so that wasn't going to work. But at the end of the day, I don't really think that we're seeing a whole lot of difference between the all-wheel drive and the rear-wheel drive dyno. I would have to estimate that it's probably around 20 horsepower if it even shows up. And I say that because I have the ability, you know, this dyno is a dyno jet and it has a load cell on it, so I have the ability to load, you know, basically the car down to where it can't even increase RPMs. But you know, we mess around with load. I put a bunch of load on it and it didn't really help. If anything, it actually increased the horsepower a little bit, and that was just because it was loading the turbos up a little harder, and we were getting just a touch more boost out of it. But again, 5th gear, you know, same thing that we do on the all-wheel drive dyno. Didn't really see, I don't really suspect that we'd see a whole lot of power difference. But anyway, I'm just rambling on here, so let's go ahead and get to the video of this. This is actually this summer, I think, well, it was October maybe when I did it. So I didn't have the GoPro yet. I wasn't really planning on doing YouTube like this, so I didn't have any of that set up. So sorry for the camera angles, but we got what we got, and the graph will be at the end, and then I'll come back here and kind of do a little outro on it. All right, guys, so I'm sitting down here in the shop and editing this video, and I realized that the 6-minute long outro that I shot for this does not have any audio on it. Not sure what's going on. My GoPro has done this a couple times now where it just doesn't record audio. I do have the creator mod on it, which has the better microphone on the little case thing that comes with it. And for whatever reason, I don't know, it just doesn't record audio sometimes. It just isn't seated properly or doesn't connect or whatever have you. So lesson learned, look for the little blinky green sound bar running across the GoPro to make sure it has audio. But anyway, I'll try to recap what I said. I don't remember what I said. It was a week ago. But as you saw in the video, the car made 577 horsepower and 576 foot-pounds of torque. Again, on the rear-wheel drive dyno, so we'll call that rear-wheel horsepower, not all-wheel horsepower. And again, I don't think that we're really all that different than what we would see on the all-wheel drive dyno. So that's going to be our baseline. And I say baseline because, you know, the car does have some mods to it. It's, you know, a fairly decent build, air quote, at this point. But it's got a stock engine, stock trans, or it had a stock engine, stock trans. You know, all the other bits were stock at that point in time. Since then, the car has been up on the lift. We've pulled the engine out of it. It's sitting on the other side of the car right now with the factory transmission on it. The reason for that is I built the motor for it. It's a 10-5-1 compression, you know, just kind of the standard build with what's available right now for this car. And then I also had RSA put together a pretty awesome transmission for me. So they did a 10R80 swap for the first time for this car for them. So we got that all built. So it's a baller 10R80 build from them. And you know, it was built off of a brand new Interceptor transmission. So that's in the car now as well. And I do have a video of the install. The reason why I haven't edited that video and put it together yet is because we do have some pretty awesome prototype turbos on this car right now. And I kind of want to start that build series when I know that I can release in a reasonable amount of time the data from these turbos. So the engine's been in the car for probably about a month now. You know, I haven't put many miles on the build, unfortunately, because it's winter up here and I only have one set of wheels for this car right now, and they have Michelin Pilot Super Sports on it, and they do not do well in the snow at all. They are not at all in any shape, form, a winter tire. And, you know, they do tell you that when you buy them or when you read the literature on them. So it's not like I didn't expect it, but I didn't expect it to be that bad, I guess. So they are really terrible in the snow. But anyway, so I only put about 150 miles on the car. Got a couple issues. Got a leaky rear main seal. Not sure what happened there. Didn't seal up. Not a big deal. We'll pop the transmission off and get that fixed. It's not really hindering any R&D or any progress right now. It's just a small little leak. So this car has been on the dyno twice since then. I wouldn't really call them fully successful dyno sessions. They did make decent numbers, but we're having some issues with the total boost number right now. I was only able to make about 25 pounds of boost the first time the car was on the dyno. And then the second time after doing the wastegate mod, it couldn't hold the boost all the way out. So not great numbers to talk about yet. And I can't, you know, officially talk about what turbos are on there, what's really special about them. But we're getting there. So we have a plan, path forward. We're making some changes to the compressor cover as part of the R&D process. Like I said, I really want this video series to start and then kind of go out in a reasonable amount of time so that everybody's not asking, where's the car? You know, what's going on with it? The reality of the situation is when you're this deep into R&D on a set of turbos, it takes a while. If you have to make a compressor cover change, you know, that's a casting change in this case. So that takes a month, you know, so it takes time to get there, and that's all part of the R&D process. That is specifically why I wanted to test these turbos on my own car before testing them on somebody else's car, because I knew that it was going to take a while, and we weren't necessarily going to get it right the first time. And we got it, you know, pretty close to right, just not exactly where I want to be. But these turbos are going to be awesome. It's going to be a total game changer for this platform. You know, that's all I can really say about them right now. That, like I said, there'll be an option for everybody. There'll be, you know, it's kind of a smaller turbo or a smaller version of it, a medium version of it, and then a higher horsepower version of it. But anyway, so that's kind of the plan for the car right now. Like I said, we got the baseline numbers out of the way. I'm going to get this video published out there so you guys can all see that. And then the next video you see on the car will probably be me and my buddy Greg dropping the engine out of it and getting that swapped over. So until then, I'm checking out for now, and thank you guys for watching. Thanks for buying tunes from me, and we'll catch you again later.